Now, earlier on, we heard the US President Joe Biden striking a rather optimistic note about the US economy. Let's get some analysis on that from Catherine Bennett from our business desk. Catherine, the president said that economic forecasters are now predicting growth of somewhere in the region of 6% in the year 2021. Does that sound likely to you?
Well, it does sound likely, and it actually may even be a bit of an understatement. Just last week, the Federal Reserve said they expected growth of 6.5% this year, and some forecasters are even placing their bets a little bit higher, around 7%. Well, we're already seeing the beginning of that now. New data shows that GDP in the US grew 4.3% in the final 3 months of 2020, and that's actually higher than analysts expected. Now, for this current quarter, economists are predicting growth of over 5%. But it can be better to look at jobs data to get a clearer idea of where the US economy might be headed. And the latest data shows that the jobs market is moving again. The number of people seeking unemployment benefits fell sharply last week to 684,000. And that's the lowest number of claimants since the pandemic began. And so it certainly is a good sign that the economy is improving. Well, now we can take a look at the markets on Thursday. Wall Street staging a comeback, perhaps after that positive jobs data. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are up over 0.5%, while the Nasdaq is staying fairly solidly around the flat line. European stocks closed mixed on Thursday as COVID-19 cases continue to surge in the region. London's FTSE is down by over 0.5%, while the CAC 40 and the DAX both managed to close in positive territory. Well, many of us will have seen photos of the enormous cargo ship, the Ever Given, stuck in the Suez Canal. Rescuers have warned that it could remain blocked for weeks, and that could have a significant impact on global trade. It's hard to overemphasize just how important this waterway is for trade. About 12% of the world's seaborne trade goes through there, and it's a key transit point for all sorts of goods, from oil and gas to car parts or consumer goods like clothes and electronics. Normally, more than 50 ships pass through the Suez Canal every day. And when it's blocked, this is the alternative, a route that goes all the way around the African continent, adding 6,000 kilometres to the journey. So what does that mean for the shoes you ordered online? Well, it could make that supply chain even longer, and this on top of strains in supply chains already caused by COVID-19. So it could create further delivery delays. But there is one market that is set to make a profit from the fiasco, and that's freight. Freight companies will be able to charge more to get goods from point A to point B, simply because it's going to take so much longer. Nike, Adidas and H&M are some of the brands caught up in a diplomatic row between China and the West. They're currently facing consumer boycotts in China because of past comments about human rights abuses in the country. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce says that foreign companies should avoid politicizing business. Claire Rush explains what's happened.
Nike and H&M are feeling the heat in China. Some of the country's most popular e-commerce platforms, like JD and Taobao, have dropped the Swedish retailer. Celebrities have canceled contracts with the brands, and consumers are boycotting them.
抵制他们一下，然后让他们有一种，知道中国不好惹。
我觉得这品牌脑子有坑，因为你想想，它第一是在中国销售，而且还发布声明说是抵制中国的原材料，还想在中国卖。
At the heart of the row, H&M and Nike statements addressing allegations of forced labor in Xinjiang. The comments suddenly resurfaced this week, prompting major backlash after several Western countries imposed coordinated sanctions on Chinese officials over alleged rights abuses against Uyghur Muslims in the region. Xinjiang in China's northwest is one of the world's top producers of cotton. It supplies many Western clothing brands with textiles. But some firms have sought to distance themselves from the region's cotton, angering China.
新疆地区的棉花是世界上最好的棉花之一，不用是相关企业的损失。第二，有关新疆地区强迫劳动的指责，完全是个别反华势力炮制的恶意的谎言。
China was the only major economy to expand last year, and sales losses there could hurt Western brands at a time when demand in the US and Europe remains weak. H&M has more than 500 stores in China and reported some 1.2 billion euros in sales there in 2019. Greater China is also among Nike's fastest-growing regions.
On Thursday, Britain and the US announced sanctions against a Myanmar conglomerate owned by the country's military junta. The US Treasury Department said that the Burmese military controls significant segments of the country's economy through these two holding firms. The new sanctions mean that any property of those groups in the US is now blocked. International pressure against the military regime has so far mostly been ignored, so the US and the UK are hoping that hitting them where it hurts, in their wallet, may have more of an effect. The US Treasury said that it was deliberately targeting a vital financial lifeline for the military junta. And that wraps up the business from me.
Thank you very much indeed, Catherine Bennett. Thanks for bringing us up to speed. And that's it from me as well. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away.